right, here we are. We are live streaming. So this is like the podcast recording meets the live stream meets. I mean, our technology just grows by leaps and bounds every week. So we're doing it. We're making it happen. Two
Breaking
old
all the
Gen
rules.
Xers. Yep, two old Gen Xers in cyberspace. So here we are. Cool. To talk about all things current USA politics, all that stuff. It has been, as usual, it's never a dull moment with the Trump administration and the political landscape, man. Give me your rundown of all the insanity that you've seen this week.
I've been watching different podcasts, different reels online, left and right. And essentially, if I can just, in a nutshell, the left is doubling down on its nonsense. What got them to lose in a landslide? Some people are at least saying we should at least reconsider, and then they're getting cut off by other people on that same show saying, reconsider what? So I think they're going to go out. I think the solution is there's no solution for them. They're going to keep doubling down on insulting people and gaslighting people and calling everyone names, which they just saw ended in a landslide for our side. But they're not going to learn the lesson. There's not going to be an autopsy. They're just going to get rid of the people who have the worst ratings and put in newer, younger people with the same bad policies and bad ideas that maybe try to pretend to move to the middle a little bit to save the channel or save the network's existence. But I think we're going to see a lot of these far-leaning left news legacy media outlets disappear over the next 4 years.
Yeah, and it's about time too. It's about time because look, the whole concept of objective journalism and news went out the window, years ago, decades ago at this point. I mean, and it's just been one loud echo chamber. Now, you could argue that the echo chamber just gets louder. Hey, you have a visitor. you could argue that the echo chamber gets louder.
Our producer.
Yeah. Hey, producer. Hello there, producer Azura. Now you could argue that that the new media also lends itself to the echo chamber as well, because most people will follow. But the difference is, though, at least on social media, or unregulated social media, I should say, like X, it's become more a little more fair and balanced. You can at least get some sort of discourse, and if you can still kind of block off the people you don't want to hear from, but at the same time, there is some sort of opinions being shared. But legacy media has just become the mouthpiece of one side, and it's been like that for so long. And the one side is controlled by these massive interests in big pharma and big agriculture and all this stuff, and it's just all tied together. And so it's a beautiful thing to watch it just crumbling before our eyes, And the nicer thing is that the power is getting back to people like us. I mean, we don't have
exactly
a million followers.
I think that but I'm gonna offer suggestions that to anyone watching this in any time in history, but right now it's super timely because it just happened. Go back and watch election night, November 5th, 2024. Go back and watch ABC's coverage of it. Watch MSNBC's coverage of it. Watch CNN's coverage of it. And it'll show you in a microscopic little 10-minute video. They'll condense it for you, so you're not watching the entire night. But I've watched all of them now. And they were giving Kamala thumbs up until 10 minutes in. Even with her at like 192 and Trump at 2, they were still saying, there's still a path. Don't give up hope. It's like, really? So, and then Fox called it for Trump before I went to sleep on November 5th. They're like, he's at 266. Alaska's going to go for Trump in Maryland. So, whatever it was, Maine, Alaska would take him to 269, 270 wins. Yeah. She was still under just over 200. It was clearly a Trump victory, but they held out hope for their viewers. And throughout all three, ABC, NBC, CNN, ABC, MSNBC, and CNN, they kept throughout talking about Trump's he's a dictator. They were interspersing gaslighting and insults throughout they're editorializing in real time the actual American people voting. It's like, how have you not learned to not do that? Just report what's happening. Just report it. Just share what they had to keep. They kept popping back to Minnesota. which Trump ultimately lost, which they won. It's the only what blue wall state they won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So my point
Absolutely.
is, it's a great if you want to see the difference in news coverage, watch election night on three major networks or four major networks, and then watch it on Fox, watch it on OAN, watch it on Newsmax, and you'll see it's different cultures, man. The difference is mainstream media, those three that I mentioned first, the left-leaning ones, have the support of Silicon Valley, have the support of the donor classes, the support of the education department. They're the mainstream media, and they're completely biased.
Yeah, which makes watching the implosion all the more sweeter, I mean,
Right.
because it's been a long time coming. Again, they now again the challenge with this emerging media now is that, I mean, podcasts, and you have citizen journalism, and again, it can certainly skew, because then it's all just editorializing, you know what I mean, at some point, because I mean, we're here clearly sharing our opinions and sharing our biases. So at some point, it's going to be valuable to have some place where there can be objective journalism and news happening. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Sure. Where does that happen? So you've got when Elon purchased Twitter and it became X, obviously people have their opinions about that, but in my opinion, it democratized social media and free speech again, because it was getting censored. So now that shift needs to happen in the media, like the traditional media, right? So Elon Musk again has very recently, in the last couple of days, been talking about possibly swooping in, kind of joking about, hey, I wonder how, because MSNBC is now on the chopping block.
Yeah. Comcast wants to sell it. It's losing money. Imagine that. I think the difference is, Jeff, people recognize. I mean, if you're in a hotel room, you're not going to get us. You're going to get CNN. You know what I mean? It's the reach. Yeah. The reach of these networks is worldwide. And even citizen journalism, and even Joe Rogan's not piped in your hotel room. It's not in an airport. Like, they're still everywhere, and that's why they have more of an obligation to be impartial, and that's why they're failing that obligation makes it even more of a bigger failure of their charge. They're the fifth estate. Read the Constitution. They're supposed to hold truth to power. They're now part of the problem. They're fake news. They only just echo back what the DNC tells them to. So to me, to respond to what you said about that, you can still find people like us and other, alternative news networks, but they still have a lock and step on where most people just casually turn on the TV. You're going to find them. That's why it's a bigger sin to me that they're so one-sided, so impartial, and so anti-Trump. I mean, the people have spoken. It's time for them to turn. It's time for them to follow the news, the actual news cycle. The biggest news story of the world is the guy that they called a fascist got the American people's full support. So all Americans are fascists by their logic. All Americans are racists. All Americans are misogynists. That's their answer. I mean, I'm not kidding. That's the conclusions they're coming to. Yeah, watch a minute of The View.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I was just going to say that they've seemed to have doubled down even in the face of this massive loss, and they've doubled down on it. And again, that's why it's so awesome to see what's happening now to MSNBC. I mean, we're seeing mass layoffs at major networks like CNN. MSNBC is on the chopping block. I mean, that who knows what's going to happen there? I mean, hopefully it'd be great if Elon bought that, because then perhaps there could be a little more objective side in the mainstream media, because you're right, that's always going to exist. That's always going to be, like you said, piped into people's hotel rooms and airports, and just the easiest way to get the news out there to the people that don't pay attention as much as us. Of course, there's always the new media that you can access anywhere on your phone at any time,
right? But you have to make a little bit of an effort to get to that media. You can you can go like this or like this, and that traditional media goes boop. So they still have a lock on that distribution, let's call it. But I think now a lot of public venues, we're here in Las Vegas, a lot of public venues that before might be afraid to play Fox News in their venue, be like, hey, we want to play Fox News now, or we'll have CNN here and Fox News here to make everybody happy. But if you just show CNN, now for a fact you're excluding half the country. Like half the country's like, that's bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So why only have CNN? Why at least have a balance in your own? If you're gonna broadcast news in a public venue, have both. Because having only the one, I mean, if you only have Fox, you're letting people know, I only lean to the right, and that's probably not. Sure. That's also not great. Let's have a balanced. You know what I'm trying to say?
yeah, absolutely. Fair and balanced, which is exactly what the Fox's old slogan used to be.
We play in venues. We're out in casinos a lot. Some places only show them both now. I mean, the American people have spoken. We're not a far left country.
Yeah, I agreed. You brought up an interesting point before we started the live stream here about it's not just the mainstream media either. It's also just the kind of the entertainment complex as well, the entertainment industrial complex, as far as they don't have the reach or the influence that they once did, which again, I'm here for it. I'm totally loving watching the implosion. Really? How about the censorship industrial complex? That's about to get crushed. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's funny. We have a clip that we're going to be commenting on here in a second, a video clip, and in it they talk about a lot of this stuff, and it's really important because Kamala, 10 years have gone by since, is it 10 years? 2016. I'm bad at math. That 8 years since Kamala basically ran Hillary Clinton's campaign, changing her accents to the people she was speaking to, celebrity endorsements. I mean, blowing through money. She did everything wrong. She completely misread the American people, and her messaging was Trump's a dictator, abortion is healthcare, and Trump's a fascist.
Yeah,
it's like that's
and his followers are deplorables. And his followers are deplorables. Well,
according to the sitting president, her boss, Trump supporters are garbage, garbage.
Yep.
That's not how you win an election, apparently. And shame on all those media networks that we just talked about. That should have been a bigger story. They should have talked about that a whole lot more than they did. They should have talked about the assassination attempts more than they did. And anyway, I'm straying now, but again, I'm pointing out faults of the mainstream media, how they're just they're just laser focused on trying to get Trump to fail, and it had the exact opposite effect.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. In fact, who else happens to agree with us is traditional mainstream media icon Bill O'Reilly. So Why don't we play that clip? Here we go. Check this out. This is the one that you were alluding to a second ago, and I watched this as well and thought it was just absolutely a brilliant take. So here goes. If anybody knows, it's old Bill.
Comcast said, you two, we're going to have to try to mend some cliche fences, and you two are going to go in there and you're going to try to tamp it down. Because Comcast knew the next day they were going to announce that MSNBC is vapor. That is a huge media story.
Why is it vapor? Just because they're spinning it off and putting them in they're spinning off a bunch of brands.
There's no spin-off.
Yeah, there is. It's a spin-off company.
There's no spin-off. See, you buy the propaganda, Cuomo.
Oh, okay.
See what I mean about
I'm just saying
people?
What's being reported.
All right.
But what do you know?
Yeah, I know, but why would you believe what's being reported? You want the real story? Here it comes.
Please.
So they're uncoupling their word, Comcast, MSNBC from NBC News. That means MSNBC has no resources at all. None. They're not going to be able to pay these people millions of dollars, Rachel Maddow, whatever she's making. NBC News is saying, we don't want you around. Why? Because NBC News' numbers, Lester Holt and the Today Show, are catastrophe because half the country equates NBC News with MSNBC and they won't watch. So NBC is desperately trying to save the mothership of information, and they have to throw MSNBC overboard. They're not putting anything into MSNBC. They want to sell it. So where's Georgie Soros now? Georgie's buying radio stations. You can get MSNBC for nothing. They'll give it to you. They don't want any more of this. Why? Because it's hateful. Not because it's so far left. The whole NBC Comcast hierarchy is far left. But it's hateful. They hate Trump. They hate people who vote for Trump. Everybody knows that. And you know what's next? The View. ABC News is going to have to cut ties with The View. And you saw that today or yesterday when Sonny Hassan had to read a legal statement in the middle of a segment. The lawyers get Whoopi Goldberg's ear and it said, we're bringing a statement in on a teleprompter. She reads it. So it is over for these far left networks. Done, never coming back. Dracula's stake in the heart. Who benefits? News Nation may, but CNN, which is on the ropes too, will probably get some MSNBC viewers.
Wow.
There you go.
What do you think of that?
Well, I'm certainly not going to accuse him of not making sense.
I loved that reaction of Stephen A's reaction when I saw it, because it was just because everything Bill said is spot on the money. And who knows better than Bill O'Reilly? He has been around the mainstream media and a staple for decades now. Nobody knows the game better than Bill O'Reilly. I mean, he's been in the game. He's been in a huge, part of the game for decades now. So every word he said was absolutely true and spot on. And I agree with him completely about the potential, fallout now for ABC and The View and all of it. I just think the public has spoken. Hatefulness, like, it's one thing to have an opinion, to have a differing opinion, but hatefulness and just outright calling half of the country fascists and Nazis because they just don't want
garbage. Garbage. Don't forget garbage. Garbage is really crossing the line. For a sitting president to call half of his electorate garbage is beyond unpresidential. It's shameful.
Yeah, absolutely. And garbage just because, because we don't agree with open borders and we'd like, lower inflation and you know what I mean? And transparency in government and healthier food and all of the things that are being brought to the table now that traditionally I thought that's what the left was all about, war.
Right. Well, and the left's also about identity politics and gaslighting. So they're getting gaslit by their own messages. The American people want enough of all of it, enough of the identity politics, enough of the transgender issues, trumping and being more important than people can't afford to pay for gas. Like they had all their priorities mixed up. They let the far left run the entire party. Joe Biden was traditionally a moderate politician who the DNC pushed to the left to, get their agenda through. Kamala Harris has always been a far left person who they tried to move to the center in the last 2 weeks of a 3-month campaign. Catastrophe. Trump is none of those things. Trump is the lone voice of reason right now in our country, maybe in the world. And thank God he won. Thank God it was a mandate. Thank God it was a landslide, because the American people have spoken. It's not 2017 is done. The Me Too movement is gone. It was a valuable movement for a while to bring attention to a serious issue, and I'm glad it did, but it went away. Identity politics needs to go. Wokeism needs to go. The American people have spoken. You can, again, in your own families, in your own churches, in your own personal spheres of influence, live the way you want to live. But to force that on taxpayers, DEI, all this stuff, the American people have spoken. No thanks. How about we go back to people just on a merit basis? You get the job or you go to school or whatever based on your ability to do that job or your ability to do well at school. That's it.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. And neither, and so does at least half the country as well. And of course, the media has been trying to downplay. Oh, well, technically it wasn't, and of course they're going to do everything they can in the next couple of months to downplay. And, our government certainly isn't helping. Our current sitting government and president administration is not helping the matters at all and making it easy at all. I mean, if they had their way, it would just plunge us into World War III, so that way, Trump doesn't even no one gets a chance to have Trump in office. So, I think things are changing rapidly. What's the old saying, the old Chinese saying, may you live in interesting times. These are definitely interesting times.
But I think for our show and for people that care about what we're doing here on this podcast. The reason that I think it's important for us to talk about this is in 2016, Trump had never been in politics ever. He was never a mayor. He was never a senator or a congressperson. No political experience at all. He went to DC, the swamp, had to figure it out and be the president. I mean, I can't even imagine that. So he made, so he had that, he was a novice going into think about DC, think about how entrenched the interests are there. What he didn't realize was that people that work there have their own agendas. The bureaucrats, the FBI, they have their own internal agendas. They don't care who the president is. He didn't realize that. He didn't realize that loyalty was very transient. We've got to bring in your loyal people, because the people who are entrenched in that bureaucracy, what does Vivek call it? The administrative state people.
Yeah,
they don't care. They don't care. They don't care who's in the Oval Office. Doesn't matter to them. So he had to learn that on the job. He also had to combat the media 24/7. They never let up, and they had all the impeachment stuff and all the nonsense, which we know now: Russiagate, hoax, all of it. So this time around, the media is kind of taken out of the equation. Everyone knows the media is fake. Everyone knows the mainstream media is full of crap. So Trump used to worry about. I think there was a part of him that used to think, if I do a great job for the country, the economy's booming, I'm going to get a nice editorial in the New York Times. He realizes that's a pipe dream. Forget about it. Forget about them. Just go right to the American people. Tell them what you're going to do it. So no more worrying about the media. No more, none of that stuff. So the fake news is gone. The Republican Party is firmly behind Trump, and the Democrats are completely in disarray. He's got a mandate from the American people. He's got a great unified team around him of visionaries. Think about this. Vivek, visionary. Elon Musk, visionary. Tulsi Gabbard, former DNC chair, now Republican. RFK Jr., the political Democratic royalty in this country on his side. It's an incredible time in U.S. history, and all the obstacles he had the first time around aren't going to be there. He knows who he wants. He knows who he wants. He knows what he wants to do, and he's going to go in there and he's going to do it. Will there be resistance? Of course. The Democrats are going to push back every way they possibly can. But what they're not going to have is their propaganda arm, the fake news, to amplify it everywhere, and people they're going to go right away. Oh, okay, you guys doing your thing, huh?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's the most valuable. One of the most valuable consequences of the media falling the way it is now, because because now, like you said, it's all being exposed, and it's kind of masterful how Trump just over the years has just been peeling it all back, one by one, because it's not just the legacy media, like you said, it's the entertainment industry, it's everything. I mean, everything is crumbling. These people are being exposed for the criminals that they are. I mean, they're complicit in criminal activity.
What Kamala's failed campaign proved to us is legacy media doesn't matter. If they supported her 100, they were all unified. Support meant nothing. Celebrity endorsements mean nothing. $1 billion. She raised $1 billion in promote. I mean, everywhere that her ads were running, saying Trump's a fascist, Trump's a Nazi, didn't work. People are wise to this stuff now. Fool me once, fool me twice, that whole thing. So they're not going to be able to do that this time. It's going to have to be about policies and about results, which Democrats are terrible at. Both those things. You know what I mean? They're good at telling you what to think and why they think you should think it and forcing you to think it. But they're not good at actually making stuff happen. They're good at taxing and spending. That's what they're good at. Trump's going to do the opposite. So it's going to be a fascinating time. And I'm glad that we talked about this on this podcast today, because even during the transition, the legacy media's ability to spin Trump's moves isn't nearly as powerful as it was in 2015 going into 2016. It's not 2027 anymore, man. It's not 2017 anymore. They've lost a lot of their venom. People are sick of it.
Yeah, and it's because, again, half the country is garbage, and every media outlet just going along, towing the party line. And to your point earlier about the celebrity endorsements and how they just don't matter anymore. I mean, they even had to. Well, Kamala actually had to pay. Those celebrity endorsements weren't free, by the way.
No,
I don't believe Trump paid for any of his celebrity endorsements. But yeah, interestingly enough, Oprah made $1 million. How much did how much did Beyonce get for
10 million.
going on?
Beyonce made $10 million to walk on stage and say, I'm voting for her. She's cool, and walk off and not sing a note. $10 million.
Yep. And we wonder why Kamala's, even with $1 billion war chest, she still ended up being $20 million in the hole. So
what I'm learning from watching the postmortems going on the left side of the media ecosphere right now is they're still making the same mistakes in their post-election analysis. They're now calling Latino men brown white supremacists.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding, because Latino men voted for Trump. So they're Latinos, white, they're brown white supremacists, like white women. What they're breaking everyone into buckets and brackets by race. I mean, because they're projecting. I really think they're just projecting their own biases at this point, because no one thinks that way. Right?
Yeah.
No, average Americans just don't think that way. They just think I want to be able to afford a good life for me and my family. I don't care what bucket I fall into.
Yeah, well, they double down on issues that ultimately don't really matter. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the economy, stupid. Exactly. What I have noticed, though, is that there is kind of the left is great at eating their own. They're very cannibalistic because, look, you have some of the more, I guess, moderate voices, but now you've also seen some of, God, who's that guy that Cenk from the Young Turks? I mean, he's been one of the loudest voices, on the left for again decades now, and even he is, slowly, very slowly. His counterpart, that Anna girl, Anna Kasparian, she's been slowly moving a little more towards the right as well. I mean, they're certainly not. I wouldn't necessarily say they were Trump supporters, but they're certainly not. They're certainly calling out a lot of the bullshit on the left, though. So is Bill Maher. So is a lot of these other people. So I just think slowly but surely, the more this comes out, the more you're going to see just people, hopefully naturally, just kind of going, okay, enough is enough.
Well, talk about eating your own. Joe Biden's got a half a century of experience in politics as a Democrat. He's the sitting president, and they kicked him out and put someone in who had no experience. So they were trying to create this cookie cutter system. Joe Biden was a cookie cutter candidate. He had no vision. He's not a visionary. He's never been a visionary. He's a company person. He'll toe the line. He'll do what they tell him to do. And so that's what Kamala was. But they thought in 3 months they could condense into a half a century career into someone. I mean, they really didn't think much of the American people, and it showed. It showed the American people's reaction to it. They completely, wholeheartedly rejected Kamala's message, which was, he's bad and I'm not him. He's terrible and I'm not him. And Joe Biden, you might not have liked him, but I'm not him either, but he's great, but he's not him. I can't even say it. It's such nonsense. So I think the Democrats are going to be the minority party for a long time if we're lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. So hey, I with that, I do want to respect the time of the viewers and those of you who might have been joined us on the live stream. Thank you so much. As always, of course, we are Patriots Only Please. You can find us at patriotsonlyplease.com. You can check out, there's a show archive if you ever want to go back and kind of, get our pre-election analysis and opinions on all that stuff. And of course, if you want to follow us on all the socials, we are at Patriots Only Please. Again, we are on all the socials, the YouTubes, the Instagrams, the Facebooks, the TikToks, the X's, the everything. So
Rumble.
Oh yes, and the Rumble, the Truth Socials, all that stuff. So it's just going to keep getting more and more interesting. I mean, there's so much to talk about. I mean, this end of the post-election analysis with what's happening with the media, the whole media meltdown is wonderful to watch, as are other things like the transition team and the nominations and who's going to get appointed and how that's going to work. There's already been shakeups, the whole Matt Gaetz thing. So, we're keeping our eye on it.
But ironically, as that happens, the what's the word I'm trying to look? The media are the ones who are covering that transition too. Yeah. So I guess our message to our viewers and our followers is cautionary tale. Just if you're watching CNN or MSNBC, don't watch too long. Flip over to some other network because you're getting it through their filter, which we know is biased. So be wise to it as you're leading up to January 20th. Be wise to where you're getting your information. That's all.
Yep, absolutely. And we are here to watch it and check it out. And hopefully you are too. So again, please join us at Patriots Only Please on your social
Shout out
media.
to Azura, our producer, off the distance here.
Shout out. Hey, Azura. Hello, hello, hello. And yeah, so like, subscribe, follow, do all that good stuff on your social media platform of choice. And we will be posting, shorts, and we're going to be ramping up a lot of the content on all those platforms, either myself and or Mr. Soli over here together and separately. So yeah, so we're both keeping our eye out on things, and let us know if there's anything we should report on. So cool. Until next time, we will see you soon. Keep
on trumping.
All right. Bye for now, folks.